Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Watson Duke, is being blamed for the Sandals pullout. And in sport, Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell says the archaic structure of West Indies cricket is hampering the regional game. I'm Ricardo Robertson. This is Caribbean in 10 for Thursday, January 17, 2019. I'll be back with the details after the break.
10 women, 5 men. But who will be the RJR Gleaner Sports Foundation National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year for 2018? That's the 58th annual RJR Gleaner Group Sports Foundation National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year Awards, live from the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Friday, January 18.
This is not any regular festival where you just come to hear music. This is a diverse festival, the one and only of its kind, where we have music on display, we have our food, but we have so much of our culture. And right now, we also have some arts and crafts on display, and we're here with the Dominica Arts and Crafts Producers Association, DACPA, naturally Dominican. Good night, tell us your name and tell us what you have on display for people to purchase.
Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Watson Duke, is being blamed for Sandals' decision to pull out from a multi-million-dollar resort project in Trinidad's sister isle. At the weekly media briefing yesterday, Chief Secretary Kelvin Charles launched a stinging attack on Duke. Duke has been a strident opponent of the Sandals resort being constructed in Tobago, and when Sandals said it would no longer go through with it because of constant negative publicity, he welcomed the move, thanking the Sandals CEO and founder for the decision. He said, quote, "Tobago says thanks for pulling out and for saving our wetlands from turning our people on the island into bellboys and bellgirls and water fetchers. It's a good sign and we say thanks to them for doing that," end quote. But Charles has cried shame on him.
How could anybody wishing to lead the island of Tobago behave in that manner? Could be comforted by an action like that. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, I have only just begun to speak on this issue. But I say to you today that if there is any blood on this project, then that blood is on his hands.
Duke had also said that he would welcome a Sandals return when the country and the Tobago House of Assembly are under new leadership. St. Kitts Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris is defending his government's decision not to make public a report from the International Monetary Fund on the 2017 Article 4 consultation with the Twin Island Federation. Dr. Harris told a news conference that Basseterre is not the only country in the last 5 years to exercise that option. Earlier, the Financial Secretary, Hilary Hazel, said the government continues with its consultation with the IMF as with any other country that is a member of that body. Now, Hazel added that the IMF is not the only credible source of information on the economic performance of St. Kitts and Nevis. The main opposition, St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, has called on the government to make public the report. It contends that the Harris administration was blocking its publication because of the present situation of the economy. Last November, opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas said the country needed to be aware of the issues raised by the IMF, and he has written to the Washington-based financial institution on the matter. Former Jamaican Prime Minister P.J. Patterson is not in agreement with the government's decision to go the route of compulsory acquisition of Venezuela's 49% stake in the state-owned refinery Petrodram. The government has said going to arbitration would be too lengthy and costly, but Patterson said that's not a valid reason. In an interview for an upcoming episode of TVJ's All Angles program, he agreed that Venezuela's continued ownership of the Petrodram shares does not make sense since it no longer has the interest or the capacity to do what was anticipated by the partnership agreement, but he disagreed with the method being used to discontinue the partnership. The Jamaican government has said there is a stalemate with Venezuela over the price of the shares, but Patterson argued that the agreement with the Venezuelan authorities outlines procedures for settling disputes which might arise.
The minority investment by Venezuela in the Petrojam refinery no longer is justified, in that Venezuela no longer has the interest or the capacity to do that which was anticipated by the partnership agreement. So for me, the argument is not whether the partnership should continue. It is how the partnership should be discontinued. You can't turn around and then say it's lengthy, it's costly. That certainly is not just immoral, that certainly is not just unprincipled, but it is certainly going to bring into question your reputation in terms of legitimate dealings. This time it's with Venezuela. When next will the government decide that arbitration is too costly?
And stay with us, your Midday Sport is next. The archaic structure of the West Indies Cricket Board, now Cricket West Indies, is hampering player performance and the overall development of the sport in the region. That's according to Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, who appeared on a radio talk show, Mason and Guest. Now, Dr. Mitchell, who was once chairman of the CARICOM Subcommittee on Cricket Governance, pointed out that most cricketing nations have already improved the structure and operation of their boards, but CWI is holding fast to an old structure. The Prime Minister maintained yet again there is need for a change in the leadership of CWI. Alluding to the recent appointment of Richard Pybus as West Indies senior men's team interim head coach, Dr. Mitchell said the attitude and arrogance displayed by some members of the board are detrimental to the sport. He said people seem to be more concerned about position and not what is happening with West Indies cricket. He insists that the board should be placing greater emphasis on investing in and developing the sport across the region, since individual countries cannot do it themselves. And that's for sport. Stay with us. That's Caribbean Newsline. Join us again at 6:30 for another major newscast. Good afternoon.